Well, hello friends. I'm Rocky Outcrop. This is a live stream. I hope you can see me. This is my second live stream ever, so I'm not 100% up to speed on how these things go. But if you can see me, then great. And if I'm talking to myself, well, I'm talking to myself. I do that enough. Anyway, I suppose I'm a bit spooky looking with the light here. I have this portable Philips Hue light thing, and it's just not really. Maybe if I put it up here, it's a bit better. You can tell that I put a lot of effort into my live streaming, and that I come prepared always. Can't you? God, I don't really have anywhere to put this thing. Uh, oh, jeepers. Is it better there? Maybe it's better without it. Well, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Tezos, and maybe take a look at some NFT art, and yeah, just have a bit of fun together. Have a cup of tea. I've got a cup of tea ready here, but I'm just trying to figure out the lighting. Oh God, this is going to get stored forever. Everyone will forever know that Rocky doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, jeepers creepers. Right. Look, screw it. I can't be bothered. Maybe if I just stick it over there. The room might be brighter. It seems so dark, though. Whatever. Let me just check in with the chat and see if there's anybody actually here watching this so far. Of course, people will be able to see me embarrass myself on the recorded version at any time. That'll probably do. Let me just check in with the chat box there. Where have I got my chat box hiding at? Here it is. Way, Scotty Sniper 93 happening. Nice one. There is somebody here. Brilliant. Hello, I'll say in the chat box. If you want to say hello to me in the chat box or whatever, go ahead and do that. I'll check the chat box from time to time, and read your comments from time to time, so we can have a wee chat here. Of course, there's hardly anybody subscribed to the channel. We're all Jared. Nice one. Yeah, so we're all autistic here. It's fine, Rocky. Nice one. Thanks very much. Well, I'm artistic, not autistic. That's what I'm going to go with. Yeah. So brilliant, excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Check Trust Swap, my man, pumping like a Jake. Red the bins. Scotty, you're obviously from Scotland. Nice one. Excellent. It's always good to have other Scottish people in here and getting in amongst it. Nice one. Right, cheers. Okay, cool. Well, good one. We'll take a look at that. Stick a wee ticker in there for me so that I can so I know what to look up. I don't know what Trust Swap is. I've never heard of it before, to be honest with you. Let me just check my OBS thing so I can see that I'm cool. I'm in there. I'm on the screen. That's all that matters, right? Maybe I need to position myself slightly differently. I don't really know. As I say, I'm not an expert. Anyway, cool. Check back in with the chat in 2 minutes. If anybody else joins, then say hello and all that good stuff in there. Excellent. Let me know if the audio and everything's okay, by the way. Actually, I suppose I'll just check. Is everything okay? Nice one. It's Swap. Okay, I'll take a look at Swap in a minute. So yeah, just let me know everything's all good in terms of the sound and all that, right? You can see me and everything. That's all working fine, right? Allows DeFi subscriptions and escrow. Okay, cool. Here's my tea. Tastes like tea. Okay, cool. Let me check it. I'll just type it in the now actually and see what comes up when I type in the old swap. Swap USDT. Swap XBT. What am I looking for here? If I just put in a USD there, are we going to get a swap? Yeah, actually, I'll just wait for a minute there and you can give me the full ticker or whatever, tell me what I'm doing wrong. It's all gravy. Great, nice one, excellent. So everything's working well. Let's take a look at Bitcoin then to begin with, and I suppose I'll introduce myself in case you haven't seen me before, and if there's probably only 2 people here, so you probably both know who I am already, but for anybody watching the recorded version, I'm Rocky Outcrop. I do daily technical analysis here on YouTube, and yeah, well, that's it. Cool. Nice one. So now we know each other. Excellent. Sweet. Let's take a look at the charts together. I'm just going to hide the oscillators for now and just kind of check in with where the prices have come up to. And you can see the prices have come up here, right? Touched off the sort of the baseline. The baseline. It is called the baseline, right? Because I call it the basis line or the median line length. Right, okay, whatever. Not going to find out looking there. So anyway, look, we've touched off the sort of the basis line here of the Bollinger Bands. That's the 20 moving average. I hate the names that everything gets given in crypto technical, not crypto, in technical analysis. The names for things are crap. But anyway, it's touched off the 20 moving average, and that would have put that's the highs of today, and they're at 9,210. And that's that key area that we spoke about in all the previous episodes. So if you've been watching along, you know very well that the 236 comes in there at 9,195. So if we were to actually move up above that area, we'd be doing a couple of things at once, evidently. We'd be going up above the, a couple of bucks extra. We'd be going up above the basis line of the Bollinger Bands, and that would be decent to see happening. But it presents us with a degree of resistance in this area, and that's to be expected. And of course, a good target for us if you had been longing it from down here when we came down and touched the second standard deviation point of the 20 moving average down here, the lower line of the Bollinger Bands, and you've longed it up to this point here. Well, that would obviously have presented itself as a decent profit-taking target. Now, I suppose I've got to chuck out that disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. So, yeah, cool. And yeah. That's where we've come to on the prices so far. I suppose I haven't done much technical analysis yet. Let's kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive, shall we? One thing that I noticed somebody pointed out on Twitter. Where's Twitter? Bring up Twitter for a second. Where did I see? Somebody had just said something. Oh, I saw this on Twitter, by the way. I thought that was pretty good if you like ass. That was retweeted by somebody who I followed purely because they had this line in their bio. Strong opinions, loosely held. There we go. That was a good one. Anyway, so what did I see? I saw somebody say something about the Bollinger Bands not having been this tight since 2018. Yeah, here we go. This person here, Cheds, whoever they are, seems like I follow them. No, Bitcoin, crypto, I don't know. This is just whatever. The daily BBs have not been this tight since October of 2018. I hope you have your popcorn ready. Well, cool. The thing about that is that the Bollinger Bands getting tight is something that people really like to look out for, like it's super meaningful. It doesn't mean that they can't get tighter. Of course they can get tighter, and it doesn't mean that they can't just stay like this for a while. Of course they can. And what it all comes down to is the movement of the price itself. So the Bollinger Bands, obviously, they move around determined by the sort of the top line and the bottom line here. There's standard Pardon me, I just ate. They're standard deviation points, away from the 20 moving average, but that's all that they are. It's just a calculation based off the 20 moving average. So when the price goes sideways, then you're going to get the Bollinger Bands tightening, and it's just a representation of the sort of the lack of volatility overall in the market. Well, you can be making good moves trading off of all this, of course you can. You're only really looking at a couple of percent one way or the other. For instance, had you taken that low there and then longed up to the top, you would have got a nice sweet 2.5% or 2.27% there. So no, nothing fantastic in terms of the volatility, even if we're looking at the extremes of the last few days. And that's why the Bollinger Bands are tightening up and la-di-da-di-da. But what it really says to us, more than get your popcorn ready, because I just thought that phrase was funny, because obviously it's the point the person's trying to make is that there's going to maybe be explosive price actions soon. Cool, okay, fair enough. But if we just go back to October 2018, 2019, they were also fairly close here, but not as close. And this is what they're talking about. They haven't been as tight as since here. They get tight, and then it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days before they expanded out the way. And then there was, of course, this volatility that came in here, where the prices dropped down from 8,040 down to 7,080. Then they rose up the next few days to 8,783. And while we would love that to be what, the sort of the extreme volatility coming back into the market here, of course, then they carried on up thereafter and stuff like that, leading to a percentage rise move up. If you had taken it to 45%, that's a heck of a lot bigger than what you're getting recently in terms of the price action. While you look to see them contracting, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to explode out of it like they did just there. Like here when we were going along fairly tight as well, then the prices did move up, and it was more like kind of, assessing the potential direction for the trend in and around this zone, noting that there was an inverted head and shoulders on the go, and then the January price rises thereafter, and it wasn't like explosion popcorn stuff. And of course, you had to wait for a period of time anyway before any of that volatility came into the market. So just thought I'd throw out a little caveat there that if you've got popcorn, it could go stale by the time anything actually happens. It could do, but I do expect the volatility to come back into the market. That's not really saying anything, to be honest with you, because of course, so what? The volatility will come. It comes and goes. Of course, we expect it to at some point. Lovely. So what we are looking at instead can just kind of boil down to a couple of things that I've been pointing out in the daily recorded videos, of course, and that really is the dynamic, for instance, of the patterns that we have here. For instance, this descending triangle that we're in. You could, if you look at the blue line, this one that I just like clicked on there, and this blue line going horizontally here, you can strap a descending triangle around the recent price action. Starting off in the sort of the early June up to where we are now. Quite easily, really, overall. And that's something that makes sense. It's something we've been talking about on the channel for quite a while. And in terms of the distance into this bad boy, how far are we? Let's just take it from roughly there and say it goes to roughly there. And that's, 35 bars. And how far into it are we? 23 bars, so we're like 2/3 of the way in. So you could expect sometimes in doing that's a little bit silly too. People like to do I do that purely because we're on YouTube and everybody's got certain expectations that you have to meet, right? So that's why I'm doing that. But I think that it's quite clear to anybody that when you're talking about these things, if you're just doing this on your own, here's a wee tip for you. When you're looking at this on your own, right, and you're trading all the time, then you can see, because you're a human being, right, and you've got pattern recognition skills, you can see that we're quite a ways into this pattern already anyway, and that the whole expected move, expected time for a breakout, or the most likely time that things would break out, so that you wouldn't say that they broke out early and were front run, or that you wouldn't say that they became overextended or whatever, that it is in around this sort of zone of the sort of 60 to 80% you could say of the way into it. And I don't think you actually need to measure these things to figure it out, but I generally speaking do when we're on the videos, just because it's YouTube land and people want to see stuff. But if you're a human being, then you don't need somebody to come along with a measuring stick and go, oh, looks like we're about 3/4 of the way in, does it? You don't need that. If you were to get a measured move off the back of this thing, this is another thing we do wrongly on YouTube, right? I say we because I'm going to include myself in this. But if we were to get a measured move off the back of this thing, then it could take us all the way down to just past the 382 here of this on this big old Fibonacci. This one here on the right, by the way, is drawn in from March the 13th lows up to the June the 1st highs. Excuse me, I have something in my eye. So then if we were to go down there, be taking us down past that 382, we could even be going as far as the 2618, the incredible 2618 area. Now, here's the one I made earlier. You can see as well when you look at these pattern things that there's an expected move thing. So when people talk about them, do you want to look it up? Let's look it up together. We're live, so why not? Bulkowski, ascending triangle. Well, it's descending in this case, but it's going to be the same chat. Hopefully the pattern site comes up pretty quick here on this one. Yeah, here we go. So the way that you do this, which is not discussed on YouTube, apart from really it seems by me, if you're going to use the textbook, if you're going to talk about it from a textbook point of view, you do the breakout. The average distance to the breakout. Wait, where's the percentage of price meeting target here? You measure it and you times it by 64 or 50%, depending on what direction it's going. So up or down, so 64 to 50. So if we're whatever. So wait, is this actually up or down? I can't really be bothered doing it. I have already got bored of that, so I suspect the audience is twice as bored as I am at any given point. You're looking at maybe moving our measuring stick from being the full measuring stick like you have here. Oh, we're going to go for a measured move off the back of this. And you're looking at it, and it's actually what you're looking for is about this sort of 50 to 60%, which would actually be taking us down to that 1618 area and at 8,500. And I think we'd have a pretty good opportunity along the way to make an assessment of where things are going before, kind of going for the crackhead break breakout, full measured move, YouTube style, yeah, magic effort, which is down here at the 2618, which would be cool as well at 7,750. But there's other things that we'd be looking to in advance of that. So if the prices did drop down, then what are the 3 levels towards the downside? And this is just all based off the 2-day chart. On the 24-hour chart, whatever chart you want to look at. Here's another tip for you. You can it's all about tying the different time frames together. So you want to be looking at you want to be looking across the board and trying to find out where your lows are and things like that, so you can kind of make an assessment of when you're going past certain key areas and pivots and inflection points and blah blah blah. So we can quite clearly see here that the last low in this 2-day time frame came in there at 9,082. It is different on the 24-hour time frame, where we can see that it's a little bit lower over there on the sort of 4th of July Independence Day one at sort of 9,050, and then of course the previous one to that at 9,000 flat. Go back up to the 2-day time frame and you can see just in this general area that we never really went down below the 9,080 closing basis on the closing there on the 2-day time frame. So it's useful to look across the time frames, but if we were looking at things from a bigger, broader point of view, a 2-day time frame closed below that 9,080 area, while on terms of the 24-hour time frame might look like we've still, that we could still be on that road to recovery, could actually be indicative of us starting to sort of break down the way. The Bollinger Band lower end comes in there at 9,030 here on the 24-hour time frame, and we have the upward sloping area of our background pattern, the sort of the bigger picture pattern that we have, which is of course at the minute, I'm just going to start calling this a parallel channel. What I have been doing previously, if you hadn't been subscribed, was I was calling this the one in the background a rising wedge. And instead I'm just going to start calling it a parallel channel, I think, because I have a parallel channel drawn in here on the 12-hour time frame using the official parallel channel tool over here to draw in. Wow. And so that's what. So we've got a parallel channel in the background. Maybe we're going to stick within that. We've faded all the way down to here. The volume's been more or less kind of going down in the bigger picture of things. It's been kind of static there, but if we, actually, it's still kind of going down. And there's a number of questions to ask. If you want to remain bull-tarded on this one, then you're looking for this to be a fallen wedge, which gets a play out, which can then extend the lifespan of that parallel channel in the background with potential upward side moves. But so I would be willing to sort of relinquish any opinions about the descending triangle as soon as we saw the prices moving back up above the previous high, which we could call here at 9,450. It doesn't need to be particularly difficult. You don't need any of the drawings on here to make any of these assessments, really. You can just simply look towards where the previous highs were. Of course, as well, you can use other things like the moving averages and just take the Bollinger Bands off for now, and you could be saying things like, well, just in general, if you're below the 21 EMA, then that's a fairly bearish thing. Just looking back the way, you can see when you're above it, it's bullish, below it, it's bearish, whatever. So, opening and closing up above this area and actually establishing the price action above the 21 EMA, whether it retests it or not or whatever towards the top side, that would be decent too in terms of the bullish type scenario. Moving towards the downside, you've got different considerations to have. Now, we do have here this golden cross type thing happening. This is the 2-day, and you can see the 50 simple EMA, 50 simple moving average is crossed over the white dotted line. That's the 200 simple moving average on the 2-day time frame. And I like to always point out that when you get these significant crosses, that actually you can have volatility coming in there thereafter. Hence, why you wouldn't necessarily need to be pointing towards the Bollinger Band saying they're so skinny, they're going to fatten out necessarily, and that sort of a thing. So yeah. If we were to go towards the downside, I suppose I would look out for things like whether or not we get a close here. This is still a 2-day time frame that I'm looking at, by the way. If we got a close here below the other the close, these closes here on the left at this in start of July, I would be looking towards the RSI and stuff like that and seeing if there's anything that looked like it could be bullish divergence coming up or anything like that. Currently, it shows like we don't have that on the go. We do have lower, the RSI has gone up lower than it was previously, while the price action hasn't managed to do that yet. So we can see if that just leads to more continuation to the downside or what. In terms of that golden cross, by the way, happened over here on the 20th of May. And I like to also point out the fact that, when you get a golden cross happening, you come down, you quite often retest both of these moving averages. And if we were to go in and retest the 200, for instance, then you'd be looking down towards that 8,500 area, which of course ties in fairly neatly with the chat that we were having before about What was the chat I was having before? Yeah, about the about if you were to do the measured move the proper way, the textbook way, off the back of a descending triangle, and indeed it kind of adds up to being the more or less the same thing here. If you were to take it off the rising wedge, or the falling wedge or whatever, and go for that one as well. By the by, it's all more or less the same. So you could be looking down to that 1618 area. Let's just dive on down to the 4-hour time frame. I'll do like a minute more of this, and then I'll check in with the chat and see if everybody's abandoned me due to sheer boredom. Who knows? Yeah. So stretch this bitch out. And what have we got here? So yeah, we were talking about this recently as well in terms of the look. Do people actually want? It's a live stream, so maybe people would prefer to see me talking about it using like something ridiculous like the 1 hour or something. I'll talk about it here in this one for now. We had this low come in here, and then we've been trending towards the upside since in terms of the 4-hour time frame. Looking at it starting over there on the 16th of July, for the last couple of days, it's not like a massive trend here. What do we have on the go? Is it divergent or not? Well, the DMI is looking like it's coming in as being no, it's not actually. The DMI is okay, and the stochastics are okay, and the RSI is looking like it's okay as well in terms of that divergence. Just coming up here and testing the neutral line. Look like we could be moving towards the top. Oh, it's midnight. Happy midnight to everybody in the UK. So there we go, retesting the neutral line and moving towards the top side thereafter. So that's pretty decent, but we're still, within the confines. Are we breaking out of something here? Is this something to be looked at? Are we breaking out of something here? Is that what's happened? Have we had a sort of retest of that and moving towards the top side? I don't know. I don't want to get carried away with either of these scenarios at the minute because it is still just pretty much sideways action. Let's go on down to the 1 hour time frame for the crack. Why not? Let's see how this is shaping up for all those eager beavers out there that are like wanting to get the trading in right now. No hidden bullish on the RSI. Potential hidden bullish here on the stochastics. So that's some hidden bullish just there at this low compared to the previous one. As you can see, it's lower. But then it's followed up with bearish divergence. Just regular old bearish divergence here in the stochastics. On the RSI, this is the high here, and it's higher than the previous one. So we're doing okay in terms of that. Yeah, it's pretty much just within the confines of this little range. It still leaves you saying that we've got certain key areas, and they're just as easy to see in the big time frames as they are in the small time frames. Really, at the minute, looking here at the 9195 area and where the 55 EMA is and stuff like that to see if we get a close above it. Let's see, we've just closed. If I stay live for an hour, I suppose we could watch the daily close together. Wonder if anybody wants to do that. I'll just check in with the chat. Oh, awesome. There's some more chat here. Sweet. Hello, all, says Lee. Hey, mate. Good to see you. Remus, 7 minutes late. You're never too late, buddy. You've made it. Hey, this guy's G. Hey, Rock. Hey, Tony. Nice to see you. Hi, Amith. Nice to see you, Amith. Good to see you live here. Hey, JCC. Wow, great to see you live, El Rockio. Sweet. Thanks very much. Hope you're doing well. Make yourself a cup of tea. Have one with me. Awesome TA, says Tony. Brilliant. Excellent. 3000 Trin says, what's up, dude? Well, hey, what's up? Not Bitcoin. Tell you that. I mean, we have had a green day today, okay? We've had a green day, but I am just looking at this 9195 area. If we're going to have some sort of moves towards the top side, then I'm wanting to get up above this zone. I want to get up above this zone at the very least. And then you're looking at the 21 EMA on the daily time frame, 9238. That's a decent area, by the way, if you're looking for an entry for a short. Not a financial advisor, no, that's financial advice. But you can imagine it yourself. Fairly easy to manage your risk around about these levels. If you were thinking, right, I'm going to be patient on this one, and I'm going to see if I can get a short off the back of the 21 EMA. I'm going to put a stop loss up there, say at the top end of where this fallen wedge zone is, for instance. And then if we did break past that, I'd be satisfied because the chances of us then going up and trying the 382 thereafter in the previous high. By the way, on this Fibonacci retracement in that 9195 area, the 382 comes right in there at our previous high. So the chances of us doing all that would be pretty high. So then you'd have managed your risk fairly well. So that's how you trade. There you go. There's your entire course on how to trade in 30 seconds. It's not like me to be so succinct, is it? So so that's what you'd be looking at, and that's a decent enough area. Of course, you could have already have done that off the 9195 area. Let's just see how it closes out and all the rest of it, though. Hey, Rocky, says Simon. Hey, Simon, nice to see you here. Thanks very much. Hey, Allium. Oh, sweet. We've got a whole crowd here. This is brilliant. Thank you so much for being a part of the community to all of you people out there. And for everybody that's actually managed to tune in, then wow. Oh, Amith is reporting that XTC has gone back to $3. Cool. We'll be checking in with XTZ Tezos shortly. Hey, buddy, thank you for doing this live. Save the best for last. There was an advert in the UK. If you're not from the UK, you might not know about it. Bisto, throughout the entire 90s, they wanted to advertise their, because you put your whole meal together and then you pour gravy on at the end. And they wanted to advertise themselves and have a jingle. And they wanted to rhyme last with best for some reason. I mean, I don't know why they didn't put any thought into this. Some idiot out there thought it was a good idea, and then the whole chain up the way must have thought it was a good idea to the point that they actually put it on TV for years. And they had this theme tune, save the best for last. And it just doesn't, so every time they said it, I was like, save the best for last, stupid. Anyway, companies are too poor these days to advertise and nobody watches TV anymore anyway, so those memes are all dead. So, yeah, sure, shall we check in with a different coin though? And we can come back and look at this in more detail later. We're live, we can chill out, we can take our knickers off, we can do anything we want. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum, right? Ethereum Ethereum's been fairly easy to trade, famous last words, fairly easy to trade of late. Looking at all these different things. Now, I know there's always so much noise on my chart. Subscribers know about it. It's cool. If you're new here, by the way, again, if you're joining the show, I'm Rocky Outcrop. I do daily technical analysis. And I am... that's it. That's all I need to say. So, what was I wanting to say? Yeah, the trade in this has been easy enough, and there's a lot of noise on here. Now, the noise doesn't necessarily help. It does help in terms of entertainment value because we have this dude on the charts here, and then if I go down to the low time frames, we've got another wee face over there on the left, and that's good, and it's always it's always good to do stuff to keep yourself entertained. Hiya, mate. When you're doing charting, you don't have to necessarily do it in that sort of crazy style that I do, but definitely good to keep yourself entertained. What has been easy about this? Well, it's just been fairly easy. I've had this yellow box in the background, drawing out the sort of the key areas for us, and that's why it's kind of so noisy. And then this line here, which was the pivot point for us. Now, when you're looking at patterns and stuff like that, by the way, now this is something that doesn't really get expressed too often, I suppose, on the show. You got all these diagonal lines popping around everywhere, pop, diagonal lines, to the point where you get completely wrapped up in looking at things, and it's all kind of a bit nuts, and you get all the different types, all the different ones, and you talk about the different shapes and everything else. But it's good to kind of then just kind of take that back and think, well, where is the pivot there on that, and like we were doing then with Ethereum, ETH, USD. We had a potential sort of descending. I need to make the color of this thing different, so if I'm going to draw on top of that, make it really purple. We had this sort of idea over here. If I actually just ditched the where it was line, what's going on here? Where's my where it was line? Is it not on the... It's just not showing... yeah. Oh, cool. Whatever. Cool. Right. Sweet. So we had this... excuse me, by the way, for at times when I'm doing this live stream, when I'm kind of talking to myself. Excuse me for that. And feel free to chat amongst yourself in the chat thing. Everybody in there, by the way, is a really great person. So I really think massive respect for all of you, by the way. We had this downward line here, and we were talking about could we have broken out of it or not, whatever. And we'd rearranged it a couple of times in the videos, if you remember watching and whatever. Then I decided to ditch it instead think about this part here as being really the sort of the crucial area for looking at this, because that was clearly kind of becoming like the pivot area during this phase of price action that we've had here. So if we go back to the 24-hour time frame, that's where that orange line lines up at. Then looking to the right, instead of always relying on a trend in a triangle one way or another, we were able to think about this as being a pivot. And we have these sort of two zones. We could even put little letters in there if we wanted to kind of make it easy for us. We call that zone A, okay, and put a wee box. Right. We'll call that A, and we'll call this B, right? B. Boop. Above and below. That's A stands for above and B stands for below. I thought of that after doing that, by the way, but it just shows you genius. So if we're in the above area, we're above that pivot, and if we're below it, we're below it. And the ranges there's two distinct ranges for trading. So if you're trading this in the small time frames, then what you're really looking between was, of course, the sort of the 230 and the 238 area, and you can see here where it looks like it wants to close. You know, it wants to close here where the 21 EMA is and the 50 simple. So you'd have clearly been able to think, if you're looking at the charts with this particular setup, sure, you'd be saying, well, that's your you know, that let's, if we're going to be greedy about things in a sort of, you know, outcroptician way, where we're not mad greedy, we're not actually going, well, I'm not closing this until 246 or go home. No, if you wanted to be greedy about it, you'd have looked right there to the where it was line, and which is separating the above and below territory, and you'd have taken profit there, right? And then you could wait and assess how things go, and then if we do move up above this territory, well, then where you're looking for, there's two lines really. There's this fuzzy white sort of grey line in the background there, which goes right through the letter A, and at 242, we did speak about that. It's not been as sort of, you know, profit-tastic, but of course, well, it depends on how you're trading it. I mean, if you were, you know, this is the daily time frame here, so there was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days where you could have, you know, used that 242 level to sort of take profit at, trading between 237 and 242. You're not looking at loads of profit there on that thing. But if you were doing that every day, then you'd have gone like 2, 4, 6, 8, 12%, whatever. And that's just spot. But then, of course, then the upper area of this range is 248, and that's what we can sort of look to. Now, I suppose when you bear these things in mind, well, like one way of tying the time frames together in your head is just to kind of bear that in mind loosely, and then just dive on down to the lower time frame. You know, take a big breath and jump on into the water and see, you know, how things are shaping up as you look towards these other areas. You know, like what have we got on the go? Well, in terms of the 1 hour time frame, we've got the 21 having crossed over the 55 EMA. The 50 simple EMA is just sharply just started to go up there. You got to imagine then that 50 hours beforehand there was some sort of degree of volatility. Pop, there it is there, which has led to this. You know, whenever you see a sharp turnaround, you always know that that's going to have been 50 periods back. So this is the 1 hour time frame. So that was 2 days before, yada yada. And then you're moving towards the top side, and we've got the 144 moving average that's coming in here. That hardly ever gets a look in on the channel. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm tempted to change this 144 to a different number just so I can get more use out of it, because it doesn't offer up, you know, a distinct amount of utility that for me, just in terms of looking at this recently, it hasn't really for me. Let me know what you think if you want. I'm totally happy to change them to user suggested numbers in terms of just the videos, because of course when it comes to me trading this stuff, you know, I always like look at it myself. I would expect everybody that watches the videos to watch the video, then go on and look at it themselves, just in the same way that I make a video and then after making the video I'll look at it myself, you know, if you catch my drift. So what have we got here? No bearish divergence there on that one. There's a touch of it here in the stochastics, but not in the DMI, so we're back to Meatloaf again. I love you, no, I want you, I need you, but there ain't no way I'm ever going to love you, says the stochastics. So, you know, warning sign I suppose there, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and we could be then looking to come up towards that where it was line, and whether or not we'd go on above it. Of course, we have the moving averages spread out in a primarily bearish fashion, with the 21 EMA being the one to buck the trend there in terms of the low time frames, as you would expect, moving up above the 55, and whether or not we would then be able to continue towards the top side and seeing the rest of these kind of cross up the way thereafter. The 21 or the 144 and the 233 there just crossed over at that period just there. You know, I'm not bullish on any market, by the way, at the minute, really, on any of them, on any market in the world. I mean, you could maybe be bullish on certain forex pairings, okay, because that's different. But you know, just in terms of these things, I'm not particularly. I do expect. I suppose we're in a live stream mode and I'm just chatting, so I do expect if I have to have a bias overall, either way, you put a gun to my head and you said, because you know we do FOMO free, greed free, bias free technical analysis. If I had to do, if I had to choose a bias, I suppose it would be bearish, right? Which means that I'm looking at this thinking, well, when we come up to these pivot points in the market, how will these things then perform around those areas? The 1 hour time frame's shite though. Go up to the 4 hour time frame and see. Yeah, so you know, we could. It's theoretical in this downward frame that if we come up to these areas and then sink back down again, in the way that these are lining up, if this were to come up another chunk up towards the bullish control zone here on Ethereum, and the stochastics were to come up just above this previous zone that we had over here, which indead was the right hand shoulder of a head and shoulders that we had on the stochastics, which then did play out as we saw here, by the way. You know, subscribe for daily technical analysis. This is the live stream where I'm having a cup of tea and just chatting with y'all. But we talked about that at the time, you know. I mean, trading. I also called like the video "Trading Made Easy" or some pish like that. It's not clickbait. It was just is what it is. There you go. And yeah, it happened. So cool. Anyway, this tea's getting cold. I'm going to have to finish it. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a good time to look at the chat if we're going to be talking about tea. Right, sweet. Zoom up a wee bit. Let me see. Okay, back to $3. Ha, 28 save, the best for last. Yeah, exactly. I feel higher low 290 and then high 350. I see chart for my basic analysis. Okay, cool, Amith. Maybe we'll take a look at that. Ethereum is best. It is floating between nice range. Cha-ching. You're right there. That's what we've been discussing. Took my Cardano profits to buy Ethereum, says Remus. Oh, you're bullish on Ethereum, or are you just bullish on Ethereum versus Cardano? And was it the Ethereum Cardano pairing that you were trading? Like, did you just trade out of? Was it like on Binance and you just sold your Cardano straight into Ethereum on that particular pairing? Is that what you're thinking? I wonder. We could take a look at Cardano in a bit. Pow. Yep, cool. Ethereum 235, nice for my mining. Sweet, cool. I'm trying solo mining in Death Pool. Yeah, cool. Nice chat there. Yeah, like, by the way, the solo mining thing, it's the same with Bitcoin. People talk about Bitcoin mining and they're like, yes, the rewards are distributed amongst the miners. No, they're fucking not. Sorry, excuse my language. They're not. They're given to the person to the miner who unlocks that block. It's a race, yeah, and only one person gets it. And there's two choices when you're mining. It's like either you do it solo, like Amith is talking about with Ethereum, or I believe, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong. Or you do it as a pool, and when you do it in a pool, then they distribute the rewards amongst all the different pool members, as everybody says, like pulling it together. Like if I happen to unlock this particular block, then we'll share it, but we're all just chipping in together, submitting our entries like as a conglomerate group together. So, that's how that works anyway. So when people say, and the rewards are distributed amongst miners, no, they're not. They're distributed amongst the winning miners. And if you want to, you can crack out a Bitcoin miner anytime, plug it in, even if it's a really, really rubbish one, and you're buying yourself a lottery ticket to win a Bitcoin. Now, will you win one? No, you won't. Don't bother doing it. It's bad. You'll waste your money. Rocky, I want Chainlink. I know it's hard TA to do, but it's just the rest 1 minute mention on the short term 7 days. Pretty pleased with a haggis on top. Well, if you want haggis on top, right, I'll just fire straight on into that. Fuck it. Sorry, my language is awful because we're live. Yeah, cool. So what was I looking at Ethereum? Let's just jump back, or Chainlink. Yeah, this is a good one to look at, by the way. So yeah, I know, you're right. It is hard at the moment. It is all hard at the moment. But when is it not hard? When is it not? At least you've got a trending market, At least you've got a trending market. So let's stick the bolly wollies on for a second here, right? And just kind of look at a couple of things here at once. Now, we had this speculative Fibonacci drawn on here. I drew it in from some low down around these areas up to the highs, and we're talking about, it wasn't just an arbitrarily chosen one. You saw it in the video if you watched it, I'm sure, where I was kind of like, I think I did 3 or 4 of them, and then I settled on this one saying, look, let's just look at it from the last sort of real low that we had before this immediate rise up. And yeah, this is where the 236 on that one comes in at there at 83,995 or whatever. And you can see that the prices have come down there to 83,700. Now, some people would call that, if I was a big-headed moron, what I would do, if I was an arsehole, what I would say is, this is coming right on the penny. We're so amazing. This is amazing. Look at this. This is how technical analysis actually works, guys. Doesn't it? It's amazing. It's come right in, right bang on the penny. But I'm not going to, because, really you don't look to do things on the penny. That's not how these things work. And that's just kind of, that's just trying to get people to pay you money to talk about this crap because you present it like it's magic, and then you're more likely to have people who are vulnerable pay you money. Instead, my remit here on YouTube is to make every single last one of you independent, self-reliant, resilient traders where you don't actually need anything. And instead of like needing my technical analysis, you just join in because we're friends now, right? Anyway, yeah, so it came down to here, and that would have offered you up a decent enough entry if you were looking to try and take what would be a fairly manageable risk long on this thing, I suppose. But I'm actually quite cautious about this because for one, it's the weekend, right? And when the stock markets and everything else open up on Monday, we could see a retracement there. We can take a look at them in a minute as well, if you want to, as well. But whatever. Pardon me. And when I say the stock markets, I don't mean the stock markets. I mean the American ones. Like, I don't care about what the UK ones say. I mean, I do care about what the UK ones say because I live here and I want the economy to go well. Yada yada yada. But the Rule Britannia and all that, that's a thing of the past. That's the past. Like, let's not get hung up in the past. So yeah, just look at the American ones instead. And besides, whatever. So that could happen, right? We could have a pullback there, which could like lead to a sort of overall some sort of dismay inside the crypto world as well, because these things are all risk on assets. So you could be looking at this and saying, well, the market's become fairly risky. Maybe we need to have a bigger pullback. And if we did see the prices then move down below this area, and that's why I say it's also an easy to manage area, right? In terms of if you're wanting to sort of risk it for a biscuit, and you wanted to take a long off the back of this, and you already did, for instance, then cool, you're sat in profit. You might be thinking to yourself, right, okay, there's two areas. One, maybe if we go back up to the prior highs there, then because we don't have any sort of topping formation as a formation, itself, we don't have, for instance, here in the 24-hour time frame, we don't have bearish divergence here amongst the tops, and we didn't get a double top or anything like that. So you could be looking at that and saying, well, hey, I'm not going to be greedy on this one. I'm going to look up towards these previous areas here and make an assessment as we get up towards that zone, and perhaps have a couple of profit taking targets. And just in two easy ones would be, if you're trading it off the back of that, would be the previous highs over here at 94,000, and then where the Bollinger Band comes in there at the 98,000. I think at 100,000 Satoshis, and I suppose probably actually when I say this, you probably wanted to see the dollar one. I'll go on to the dollar one in a second, mate. Sorry if this here bores you. But by the way, fundamentally, the chat is going to be the same. It's just going to kind of be different numbers. I say that's predictive. I'm pretty sure that's what the chat's going to be. We'll see when we get there, obviously. So we'll be looking up to those two targets, and then afterwards you could make an assessment about how we're going, because it's not like you don't come away from the Bollinger Bands and then kind of go up towards the top side. But with the range that we have here on them, there's a huge potential for this volatility to then to come in and see us go back down and visit these lower areas. And if that were to happen, then I wouldn't really be wanting to hold on to trades just in terms of the risk of the thing past that particular line there of the 236, having had it, pardon me, then retrace back down the way, sort of about a 15% retrace since its highs, then continuing to go on down the way. It would start to look pretty crap pretty quick. And we'll visit the lower time frames here in a second as well, just to kind of show you, because while this is not divergent here on the daily time frame, although I say that and I'm not actually looking at the stochastics, I mean, there was bearish divergence. Have we got rid of it or not? It's a mixed bag at the minute there on that one. I'd be looking at that, and that makes it easy enough to manage the risk, because you could be then, and you could also, if you wanted to, flip short there or whatever, and trying to take profit. Then, if you were to flip short there, your three profit taking targets would really be down to the 382, for instance, down to the 50% line, for instance, or indeed down to the golden pockets is my precious golem, give me back my ring zone here in at this area. Now, if you were to do the first one, you'd only have come down as far as this, and that's cool. That can happen. Of course it can. We've got all the moving averages are all spread out in a nice bullish formation. Everything's looking kind of more or less really good in this market. But we have this feeling here. Actually, let's just put this into context real quick. That's the NASDAQ Inc. Didn't want that. Wanted that one. So as we have here on this, for instance, here we can see that there's actually bearish divergence on the way up here, on the 24-hour time frame. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily going to bleed across to all the other markets, for instance, but it's there, it's just to be aware of. And then you could see this pulling back down the way, as a sort of ripple down effect. Anyway, that's not really on the charts here, so you can't say that. That's just sort of speculating, based on sort of. Well, it's not really related, but it's kind of is and isn't. So yeah, you'd be looking towards those three levels, and if we did come down to the middle one, the 50%, well, then you'd be coming in at around about where we would see the 21 and the 20 simple, which is of course the basis line of the Bollinger Bands, in order to try and see, well, would we get a turnaround there from that point? And of course, Dow would have said that was the place that you'd have seen them happen at there as well. And then, and failing that, then, and if you were looking for the next area, it could be the 618. But I would be a little bit more. I would obviously be looking at this along the way as it was happening and trying to make an assessment. I'll just jump over to the link USD prices just to sort of give you an update so you don't fall asleep, and say that, well, we haven't come down as far as the 236 on this one. As you can see, we have had that pullback there. Again, it's not exactly divergent between these two highs, and the last highs, is it? It's so close, but it's not. It's close, but it's not here. So we've not got that quite yet. But should we get something where you kind of get a move down and then it comes up here and then you get a move down again, especially if it comes in with a bit of some sort of divergence in around those areas, then you'd have a clearer sign as well. I mean that's making it, that kind of makes it easy for you if that's what it does. At that point, so you'd be looking around. That's why that would be your first profit taking target in there. Then I suppose at $8.68. And then the next area thereafter would be, I suppose you'd look to sort of $9.05 area, make an assessment of how things are going at that point, and have we come up here and put in yet another not divergent high. But if we jump down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that this is just like clearly sloping towards the downside across all this crap down here, while we've been going up the way. Now we have had a bit of a pull back down the way. Oh shit, yeah, look at that. There's some technical analysis working for you. So yeah, anyway, if I wanted to be an asshole about things, what I would do right now is I'd say, wow, look at this. We talked about this symmetrical triangle yesterday and whether or not you could get a measured move of it. Now, of course, we're not in YouTube land where things are expected to go the full way down here because we're not Carl the Moon or something like that. Instead, we're actual traders, and we look towards the, like I said earlier on when I was looking at Bitcoin, that you do it by the percentage price meeting target move, whatever thing, and that's around about 60%, 65%, I think, on these things. And yeah, we had that, when we saw the prices turn around. At the same time, it extended out beyond the Bollinger Band and came back up, which is natural. Came back up and then it actually managed to touch the basis line of this one, then sink back down below the 21 EMA, and things overall, in terms of this section just here, actually look kind of bearish, okay? And we've come down here, we were rejected from the sort of the bearish control zone in our first pass, came back up, and perhaps we're sinking back down into it again. We've done all of this without actually having gone into the sort of oversold territory here on this one. Could we see it sink down a little bit more? Sure, we could. And if that were the case, where could it take you? Well, it could take you down to this area here. As you can see, this is why my charts rapidly get messy, and that's where we find that 236. No, that's not actually 236. That's the 1618. But we do have a 236 Fibonacci retracement. I'll just go back up to the 24-hour time frame to point this out here. In there at $7.11. We came down as low as 762 today. Is that satisfactory in terms of a pullback? Well, from a Fibonacci point of view, not really. Not necessarily. But when we're in the face of that bearishness, which is on the charts there. But could we get a turnaround? Sure, absolutely we could, because as we know in the 24-hour time frame, it's not necessarily bearish quite yet. And get rid of that tool. If I hit undo a bunch of times, it'll get rid of a bunch of that shit. So anyway, yeah, you can see that we had things on the go that made it so that we could look at things. We could have also done that symmetrical triangle jazz over here, and then we saw a breakout of it. So you can see, you can do these things yourself, by the way, matey. Never think that you can't. You have the power, you have the skills. I believe in you 100%, definitely. But so you can make assessments of these things as we're going along. I think this was a fair enough play. If we actually manage to maintain these areas, we have got the 21 up above us, which we'd want to be retaken here in the 4-hour time frame. How do we look here in the 12-hour time frame? Yeah, look, so the 12-hour time frame, you've got the basis line, the 21 EMA, and the sort of the old 1618 area in there, which I think is going to be is potential for it to be a pivot point or an inflection point in the market for us, And by that, what I mean is if we were to move down below that, we could look down towards the 382 and the 50% and stuff like that, because over here on the dollar pricing, this is where it comes back in at as being our previous highs there. If we were to go down to the 50% for a turnaround, this is this territory here is the all-time high one. This is where we had our previous highs at, and you'd expect. I use words like expect, but you don't expect, right? Don't expect stuff, but you could anticipate. There we go. That's a vaguer, more neutral way of saying things. That this sort of zone in here would be where you would hope for a turnaround at, and as you can see, that's where the 50% would be at if that was the case. But there'd be plenty of trading to be done between here and then. Let's just check in with the chat, because maybe you think I've kind of covered it enough for us. Anywho, who was it that was asking, by the way? Save the best for last. XTZ. No, wait. Kirsten Netflix. Wait. Awesome TA. Take note. Sorry, if I was looking at this all the time, I'd know what you were saying. But somebody said something about it being. I'm so blind. It's the pressure. I read fast. I read fast. Finally, I have live channel, my friend. Super. Wow, great to see you live. Was checking Netflix. Just saw live analysis. My friend just stopped watching. Curse. Cheers, Amith. That's nice that you tuned in instead of Netflix. Netflix is great. Cursed, is Cursed any good? Let me know if that show's any good. Me too. I was watching Hereditary. Is that any good? I don't know. Let's see though. Where was it? Who was it that said about the thing? Rocky, you know I want Chainlink. There we go, Tony. So I hope Tony, tell me if that's all right or not. Tell me if that's all right. Just in the rest of 1 minute, mention on the rest 1 minute. Mention on the short term 7 days. Press pretty please with haggis on top. You know, did I cover that at all enough for you there, matey? Or do you want me to look at it a wee bit more? I mean, let me know if you're still tuned in. That is, of course. I don't know. You might not be. Tai for Link. Have a good night. Oh, says Jared. Are you way off, Jared? Cheers for tuning in. Thanks very much. I'm glad if that was what you were tuned in for, then that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Brilliant. Excellent. Sweet. Nice one. Yo Mama Rules. That's a funny name. Yeah, cool. Shall we take a look at it? Shall we take a look at Ethereum, XTZ now? Of course, by the way, like I say, Tony, if you want to look at anything more, I mean, for instance, things I didn't look at. I'm always like this. I can never say bye. I can though. Things I didn't look at, weekly time frame stuff, for instance. You know, we have other things in here. If you're looking at it from the perspective of the weekly, you know, we've way beyond the outside of this Bollinger Band. You know, and we have come back down to touch it again, and we are, of course, you know, about to close off the week, which means that we will see this move towards the top side some more. You know, the Bollinger Band area here presenting opportunities for tracebacks here, which are still coming in as higher and continue the trend up the way. But I would still be looking at around about that 84k area. Okay. Likewise on the dollar prices, you know, you can do this assessment yourself. It doesn't take much. You know, you could even get drunk and do it, because I'm doing it really sloppily, and you'd be looking around about 750 there, down, or perhaps down towards the 710 area. Of course, all of that presenting, you know, decent moves, and that's just with the assumption that the trend would continue. You know, and then you think about, well, when's the trend is your friend until it betrays you and stabs you in the back, and that's when things like looking at the 236 and stuff like that become useful, and that's kind of all we really need to do. Let's take a look at Tezos then. Tezos till you Bezos, baby. So this is the weekly time frame on the Tezos. You know, we've come all the way up here and touched this bolly wally, and I think I spoke about this in yesterday's episode. You know, we came up towards the 886 here, past the 786, and we did have price action in and around, you know, the previous highs there in the 3,500 or the 35,000 satoshis. Pretty sure that's 35,000 satoshis, by the way, instead of 3,500, but whatever. Area. And then retrace back down the way, but that's all cool because this is you know, fairly healthy overall upward trend. But we are below the 236 here, so if we go down to the 24-hour time frame, we can see how that adds up, you know, how that pans out, and that we have gone down below the 236. So like that chat that we had about Link there, you know, if you're looking for a bit of context on that, you can see this here on the Tezos charts, you know. So where could you realistically look for this to come in at and still overall continue the upward trend? And you would be looking then, if you wanted to have a couple of profit taking target if you were shorting this off the back of a move past this area, for instance. And again, not financial advice. You could be looking to that 382, for instance, in there at 31,050, call it, or the 50% in there at 30,030. Just call it 3,000 or 30,000. Again, depends on how many zeros you want to put on the end of that. Just call it 3,000, whatever. And then afterwards, if you were to go on down the way, then you can see quite clearly in the 24-hour time frame that the 618, the golden pockets is my precious zone in there, is right where the 21 EMA, the 50 EMA, the basis line, and all the rest of it is all kind of coming in around this zone, the 50 simple and all the rest of it, all in around this zone over here. Now, what else do we have if we just kind of hide all that shite off the charts? Excuse my language. Gosh, really bad. Really bad language. Take even off the Bollinger Bands as well. It's kind of annoying, by the way the Bollinger Bands change the I find that annoying. Dear TradingView, I find that annoying. Fix it. So yeah, you can just simply look towards things like where the previous low was, you know, if you want the previous high, sorry, and things like that, and that gives you three clear areas. So if we kind of bear this in mind, then 31,050, 28,800, and then 28,000 or 3,100, 2,800, whatever. I really don't know what numbers people want me to use. That's why I'm using both, because I don't want people to think I'm saying the wrong thing who just tune in. Anyway, bear those things in mind and then look back at this, you know, how it ties in. And you can see the 382 comes in neatly there, lined up with this previous high over here. Then the 50% comes, I spoke too soon. well, the 50% comes in around this sort of zone here, but that's not what it was. But the 618 ties in nicely with this, the golden pockets is my precious zone, ties in nicely there. So that would be your 3 downward side targets if we were to then, even then afterwards continue the trend towards the top side. But do I want to see that happen at all? No, of course I don't. I'd far rather that it turned around, and just simply retrace back up there above that 3,300 level today even. In the next, 27 minutes. That would be handy. Does it look like it's going to happen? Not necessarily, but I can't make that assessment from the big time frames. Let's look down here at these ones here and see if there's anything kind of jumping out at us. Is this lower or is it not lower? It's not lower than here. So that's not like divergent in that sense. There isn't any hidden bearish divergence, and there isn't any bullish divergence there just in this little chunk. What about the 4 hour time frame? Oh, look at that. There's some more technical analysis we did in the past. To be honest with you guys, it's hard to remember when you've done, what is it I've uploaded, 700 videos to YouTube or whatever in the last 6 months, talk about all these different coins, and I also myself I trade forex and stuff like that when I'm off camera, and all the rest of it, and I kind of make these assessments. I make the video, it's all kind of short-term memory, it fades away to nothing, and then I have to come back in and redo all the assessments all over myself all over again. We had this symmetrical triangle here during this period of time. We looked like we could have been breaking out towards the top side, although we weren't, and instead we faked out and then came back into the triangle and broke down the way. Now, what would I have said? Now, I know I would have said this. I would have said, look, this will be fake out territory. Anywhere in this zone here would be fake out territory from this symmetrical triangle. Looking to the left, you can see that that's where this, 786 Fibonacci from the past came in at, just this general area as being sort of fake out territory, and that's precisely what's happened, And it's not like that, it's not me blowing my own trumpet, I'm just saying that's what you would risk. You would make the risk assessment off the back of that. You would say to yourself, we have a symmetrical triangle here, we've got a measured move which could be YouTube Blantastic style like Carl the Moon, and it could go all the way up to as high as that 37,000 Satoshi level, 3,700, whatever it is. But you wouldn't do it like that. Instead, you'd say we would have had maybe more like that size of a move, and up to here could be fake out territory. So if we did break out from that, then be careful in that area, and then ultimately then it's come back in again, and it's kind of done the measured move towards the downside more or less. So that's how these things often go. That's just a little sort of tip. It's not so much anything other than to say risk management comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. When people talk about fake out territory, they always do it in a vague way on YouTube, from what I've noticed. Oh, just beware of fake outs, as if the warning in and of itself is somehow actionable on your part. I do always try to give people an idea of where the fake out territory would be and where the legitimate breakout territory would be, off the back of any pattern. I think I'm the only person who's ever done that in the history of YouTube, by the way, so smash like. And yeah, so that's why that's useful. I find that useful in my own trading. And so we've moved down here, and what's the big deal? Overall, nothing really, other than the fact that we're below the 236 on this Fibonacci retracement just here, like I was saying before. And could we make our way back up? Well, could we make our way back up before the close today? And in the next 25 minutes, well, obviously anything could happen, so sure we could. But I'm not looking at it saying that we necessarily will. We're below the 21 moving average here in the 4 hour time frame as well. And what's that green line there, by the way? Yeah, we're right in the golden pocket. Now, of course, this Fibonacci is going the other direction, but it's just to show you that this is clearly an area of significance, really, and we're right in this area. So I wouldn't want to see the prices breaking down past this any further. This is all in the side of the sort of the under the sort of the auspices of this symmetrical triangle. The distance that we've moved here. So that's. We could just have played that out, and that would give the oscillators and everything a chance to reset. So if we did start trending towards the top side again, then as soon as we sort of took out the median area of this symmetrical triangle, I start feeling a lot more, a lot better about things. And as soon as we went past sort of the 34,000 area, then I'd obviously feel good again. Now the same assessment could be made exactly here on the dollar pricing. Obviously, I didn't do it though, but the same assessment could have been. I hope that you would have the skills to be able to do that yourself, more or less. And where we find ourselves is exactly the same as well, just below the 21 EMA, trapped in between the Irish grass and the Scottish grass, the greens, different greens there. That's serious, by the way. I'm serious about that. There are two different shades of green. If anybody's from Ireland and or Scotland or has travelled between the two and has any comments on that, let me know. Or just make jokes about weed if you like to, because they're funny as well. And then, but that's where we're trapped right now. So if we move back above the 21 EMA there at $3.03, then there's a pretty good chance that we could make it up to the $3.08 area. $3.08 area, if you're just a little scalper and you're wanting to do trades between them, then really over the last few days, then I've been looking at this $3.08 as being a sort of pivot area in terms of the short-term scalping moves. So movements past that can lead on to movements up towards the 320 area. I feel like taking profit I feel like certainly when I've been trading this occasionally, I've been doing this sort of taking profits at 317 sort of area rather than the 320. But 320 is there as an option for you, and that would be your, like in terms of the Ethereum type chat that we did before, that would be your A there, and then this zone down here is your B, looking down towards 294. But of course, that's actually not that common in terms of how many times we've gone down there, and you're just looking at playing the pennies moves down here. But of course, that does mean you need to trade in fairly large numbers in order to actually exploit moves of this small nature. So you're talking about multiple thousands of Tezos trading it in order to just scalp this thing. But you can. And managing your risk is actually still fairly easy. It's still fairly rudimentary, looking between these two levels, really. And then movements up towards this area, you're looking at, just let me color it all in, that there. That's your A, and that's your B. And then beyond that, then if we do break down properly below the 236, which is here, this particular one on the dollar pricing, then I would then be a bit more concerned. And I suppose the dichotomy between the two, this is what leaves me feeling less... overall less concerned about the fact that we're below the 236 over here on this pricing on the Bitcoin one, because over here in the dollar one, we're kind of maintaining that balance. How's the disparity between the exchanges right now? HIT BTC is within a penny, so you can see that this has happened. And what assessments can we really make off the back of the fact that the HIT BTC charts have shown that the prices have moved up throughout this period here, remaining above the 21 EMA, while the other charts here are below the 21 EMA at a period whenever there was a divergence in over here there was a big divergence in the price action and in the prices between the HIT BTC exchanges and the other ones, and now they've converged again, with this sitting above the 21 EMA but yet still distinctly below the 236. Is that right? Am I going to put my foot in my mouth again here? I do this so often, where the fuck is it? That is so useless, changing the zoom. I can't even be bothered. I think it was a 236. Yeah, it is. It's this line here. It's a 236 Fibonacci retracement line. Yeah. Oh, God. I really do need to get rid of all this mess on the charts. Yeah. I can't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. How there was a disparity here between these things and whether or not we could move up above them or not, above these zones. Are we seeing the exchanges kind of coming into alignment, or is this the alignment it comes into before it breaks away again, and will we see this drop down or whatever? So while I don't think that that's a trading signal in and of itself, I do think it's interesting to look at the disparity between the pricing of this on different exchanges. Likewise, I've been pointing out for people recently in the Bitcoin videos, not everybody watches them, of course, significantly less people watch them, but that the Bitfinex charts, you see here, Bitfinex, this one, 9196 at the minute it is, and on Coinbase it's 9177, BitMEX 9173, Bitstamp 9178. So we have the exchanges kind of diverging away from each other. Over here on Gemini, it's 9183. It's kind of sat between them in a way. So we have that splitting off of the pricing, and you can see the Bitfinex one is sticking closer to the BTC1 futures contracts, right? Which is actually, you can see that the contango here on this is diminished quite a bit. Is this closed yet, by the way? Oh no, wait. Aye, has it closed yet? Aye, closed. Cool. So we can also do that. Wait, fuck, it's Saturday today. It's actually just turned Sunday. Has it closed yet? It closed yesterday, Rocky, you frickin' moron. So anyway, what we like to do over here on this chart... Actually, let's just check in with the comments again. Who knows? Thanks for the thing. Have a good night. Yes, mate. It seems you're bearish. Yeah, okay, I'm a bit bearish on things, but only in terms of the overall trend is towards the upside, right? We've had a trend towards the upside. It's just that we're getting close to areas where you could start to look at the bigger pictures as being like, well, now no longer are, in terms of like the 4 hour, clearly we're in a slight uptrend. In terms of the daily, clearly we're in a downtrend. So there's a dichotomy there between those two. If we can push back up on across the board on all of these things, above certain levels on the smaller time frames and then continue that through onto the daily ones, great. And if we can do it on the otherwise, you know, we're maybe going to start having things like just the very low time frames be bearish, with the bigger time frames having been bullish. Sorry, the bigger time frames being bearish beforehand, and then when you look up towards the big time frames, I mean, you can't say anything but bearish. Like, this is just the weekly Bitcoin chart, for instance. And yeah, I mean, that's not an uptrend at all. If anything, that's sideways and down. So, you know, anyway, what we like to do here is fill in this box here. I'll check in with the chat again in a second, but I suspect most people have tuned out. If anybody is still there, by the way, you're super cool hero. The lows were 9095. The highs were 9220. So that's what we're looking out for as well in terms of tomorrow. By the way, I don't think I'll be making a video tomorrow. So you can look at that yourself tomorrow evening. If you're in the west coast of America, then tomorrow afternoon, evening, when the CMEs open back up for Monday trading. And yeah, so I'd be looking to see whether or not we have movements up above or below that line. I can take away this this thing here because that was an hourly gap which got filled. And yeah, we could look for gaps. And if there's a gap here, well, I think you all know what to do. I've talked about them enough times in the past. I'll just check in with I'll check in with the chat and see if anybody wants to do anything else. I've posted your videos on Crypto Telegram. Cheers, Tony. You're a legend. People will love Cursed if they have watched Merlin. It's exactly the opposite of Merlin. Oh, right. So that was that BBC drama, I think, that you're talking about a decade ago or something. Cool, okay. Yes, mate. Seems you're bearish. Yeah, we covered that. I'm both, right? I am actually unbiased. And by the way, I trade these things both ways and stuff like that all the time. I genuinely, it's easy for me to present an unbiased point of view when I'm doing streams and stuff because I generally approach the markets from an unbiased point of view. I think it helps, you know. I mean, it's natural to have a bias, but you know, if you can, I mean, if you've got a really bad memory, kind of like I do when it comes to the charting, then you have to kind of reassess things every time you look at it anyway. You're better off, you know, kind of doing that. Yeah, cool. The chat's dried up a wee bit. Maybe everybody's tuned out. That's all good. I was going to look at NFT stuff if anybody wanted to do that. I was going to check in with some of my favorite artists. I suppose I could just do that anyway. Is it Known Origin? What's the big one again? What's the big one? NFTs, art. No, super rare. I'm just using, that's Spidey Monkey's website, by the way. I'm just going to use this to get a link to Super Rare. Read more. I'm going to hit read more. Give his website some hits. I like the work you've done here, by the way. I like that NFT logo and crypto news and all the rest of it. It's quite cool that you've got there. Let's visit Super Rare. And what I want to do is check in and see if my personal favorite artist. I don't own any of his work. But let's just see if he's got anything new out. I really should have bought some of it, you know, to be honest with you, but I've never had like the readies to do it. Let's have a look here and see. I want to find Lazarus. He's my favorite. Shout out to Lazarus. I know you never watch any of my streams and you'll never hear me saying it, but there you go. Let's see if he's got no tags found. You see, I'm just going to use the old Google for this. Lazarus Super Rare. See if I get a link there to his stuff. If I don't, then physics.org? No. That's, well, actually, tell you what, this looks really cool. Superconductivity observed in promising rediscovered material. Well, it doesn't take much to get me to get a bit distracted. That's interesting. That could be an NFT in of itself. Obviously, I can't find him. Maybe he moved all of his work off of it. Let's just go check out Known Origin. Because these pictures are pretty cool. The guy's a good artist. Don't want to do any of that crap. Don't want to sign in. View gallery. Want to search. I've got absolutely no idea if anybody's watching the stream or not, by the way. So, you know, that's not so good. Is there a search button on this? Let me know in the comments. I say to myself. Lol. Artists. Cool. Artists. Click that. Lewis. Like Laz. Gonna. Oh, is he using his real name or some crap? Right, I'm going to give it one last shot. Going to go over to Cent and find him on that. God. Let's see if he's got any new work out.
Welcome to Cent.
Shut up! I hate their new website. Lazarus2571. There we go. Let's see what his latest art looks like. So here's a wee thing for people who don't know who don't know him. I think this guy's great. Big shout out to him. Not that you'll ever see it, like I say. So you can see this guy, like he's got a particular style of his own. You can see the Picasso influence in the background there, but this sort of the modern element and the colors that he uses, I like it. It's quite sort of neo grunge, I would call it. And he also mixes together like some things that I quite like. I'm not a massive fan of that particular Muhammad Ali one. He mixes together. If I just go back to one of his earlier ones, maybe I'd have to go far too far back. He mixes in things like you got things like that. I find it pleasing, aesthetically pleasing. He uses decent things together. Quite a lot of them have got a decent meaning. That's clearly a coronavirus one here. Find your space. I guess it was about for me it would probably be a representation of sort of the craziness and the individuality we have during the breakdown during a pandemic. He does this, which I think is quite cool, using sort of furniture stock photographs, and puts his artwork up in the background. That's pretty decent as well. Oh, it's all a bit mad, but I like it. But some of them are way better than others, in my opinion. He's also got this thing where he drew lines through eyes, and then he's evolved that here into sort of police tape across the eyes of people. Look at that. I mean, I think it's quite cool. I think that's cool, I really do. I mean, he's obviously trying something else there, or else he shared somebody else's work. Not a massive fan of that one. Let's see if I can go back and find one that I recognize. See, he does a spray paint across the eyes thing as well. I find that decent. This was one we chatted about, where he drew that out and then he turned it into an animated NFT here. I actually like the texture here on this one way more than the outcome over here on the actual finished piece. I mean, this is pretty neat, You've got Atlas in the background there. What have we got in terms of cryptocurrency type symbols or whatever dropping down here? Is that anything? I'm not sure exactly what's going on. We got a comment from me on here. Yeah, look, to be honest, it turned out a lot cleaner and nicer than I imagined it would. On the other hand, there was something nice about the texture of the piece you began working on for this. This is interestinger. Is that fella there, Atlas? So yeah, so you can have conversations with this dude. But going back further, I'm going to tune out in a minute, by the way. But I want to find a couple of pieces of maybe if I just go, maybe he's got like a link to his work on a website, in which case I could just see a gallery of his. I'll click this. Super rare. Sweet, this will get me there. What's he called on Super Rare then? He has moved all his crap off Super Rare. Go with something more modern, more recent that he's done. Known origin. Thanks for joining me, by the way, for the episode today. Really do appreciate it. Hope you got some value out of it. If you did, hit that subscribe button and all the rest of it. Oh, he's just using his real name, Gary Cartledge. Well, cool, whatever. Cheers for putting art out into the world, Gary. I was also going to look at other stuff, by the way. Spidey Monkey, you maybe in my next live stream I'll do one of your cryptomorph things. One of his early works here. This might just take too long to load up, but one of his ones is pretty good. I wonder if it might not even be on here because it might not be for sale anymore. Just looks like it's all going to take far too long to load up. Suppose that's what happens when you're doing a live stream and you're looking at proper art stuff. I'll let it load up for a minute or two just for the crack anyway, so you can see some of this guy's work. Give him a shout out so that people can go along and buy some of it if you want. I think that there's not going to be very many. In all honesty, I think that percentage wise, in terms of the sort of the crypto artists out there, I don't think that a lot of them will necessarily go the full distance. But I think that this guy is one of the ones that has a chance. Has a pretty good chance. Some of it I think it's nice. I don't know. I'm definitely talking up too much. Some of it's shite. I mean, I hate that there. That there's shite. Sorry. But you got to have opinions, right? That's crap. You probably put a lot of effort into it too, so no offense to you, mate, if you ever watch this. But load up. Some of them are much better. I guess I like the ones that have got nuanced political images in the background, or have got or grungier, or like collage. Attacking itself for profit, like this is like he's this is clearly a statement about media and stuff like that. And what's he written about it? 9/11 conspiracy, map of expressionism, disaster, how the US got away with it, did we forget or allow it? Oh yeah, actually, big time. For those who you'd have to look at it a bit more. I don't want to comment on that too much in terms of the whole YouTube land because I have a massive respect for American culture and all the rest of it. I do think that they should have done a bit more research into what really went on, in public inquiry and stuff like that. I think would be good, just so that people have answers. But I'm not going to comment on it overall. There's another one you could comment on all day. Someone spray painted over Jeebus's eyes. This is one of the more ugly pieces that I really disliked, but some people would like it. Probably shouldn't have clicked on it. I really disliked that one. Just wanted to point it out because it was. Hopefully, I've cached images and it'll load up quicker. I'll just check the chat box, see if anybody's there. Oh, somebody is there. Cool. What's that, Simon? Are you still here, Simon? Cheers, man. Cubism influence for sure. Yeah, man. Cubism. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like of course, there's millions of crypto artists out there and that, but this guy isn't one of the ones that's well known. And if I did anything to improve his people knowing about him, then there we go. I'll do that for the guy because I think he deserves it. I think there's just the style of it is stuff that I like, there with the freedom backwards, Kennedy's eyes crossed out. I like it. It appeals to me. He's like if I make somebody like a birthday card or something, then it ends up looking something like that. I mean, you might be looking at this thinking it's all complete crap. I don't know. I don't really care. That's art for you. Anyway, I suppose it's taking too long to load up his pictures on my internet connection right now as I'm streaming. That one's animated. And obviously this is a guy who tries, and like a lot of the stuff it leans it's a collage of like other people's stuff together as well, so like, it's not necessarily all 100% new, but some of it's pretty good, and obviously he does all of the. I mean, this sort of thing here as well. I mean, that was a really excellent picture that the people took back in the day. That picture is really excellent. But then just the way he kind of he's enhanced it, I think that it's fair to say that it is his own work now. Obviously, that's there's debatable. Some people out there would say that he's infringed somebody else's copyright in a sense. I think that he's done enough to kind of transform it a little bit. Crypto Dreamers, he's named it like that. Lightning strikes when you're not paying attention. I don't know, it appeals to me. That there reminds me of like the sort of design you might get on a bloody shoebox. Not all of it appeals to me. Right, cool. He was clearly going for that corridor effect again, like he had here. You repeated it there on that one. Whatever. Obviously, all the ones that I really liked have sold out. That makes sense. That one's still kicking about. Yeah, cool. Well, this one, Bonsai Code. Yeah, this is the first one I saw. It's only $5.90 for, and what is it? Edition 1 of 25. Make an offer. So yeah, cool. Excellent. I think that's pretty sweet. I think that just make it full screen or whatever. I think that he's taken a picture here of an old thing. And just the color choices and the way it goes together and the typography type elements to it and the drippy graffiti elements of it and stuff like that. I think it works. And when I talk about crypto art and everything else and this modern thing and art in and of itself being really old and the transformative nature of crypto art and stuff like that, I think this guy hits a lot of buttons. And obviously, that they're $5.90, that's relatively cheap in terms of how these things go. Obviously, it's a 1 of 25 thing. But, there you go. I think it's pretty cool. I'll tweet it, and then I'll say cheerio to everybody. Tweet that. Yeah, cool. So, thanks very much for tuning in. Oh, wait, let me just check the chat here. See if anybody is here. Yes, Remus, you're still here as well. Cheers, mate. I would hang one up on the wall for sure. That's what I'm talking about. I think that's pretty decent. But obviously, there's art is art. Art is to arting as fart is to farting. Everybody, don't get too hung up on it. There's good and there's bad, but really it's just about what you like. And it's the same thing with trading as well. There's good ways and bad ways of trading, but it's just what you like doing. Just try and stay successful. Nice one. Stay safe out there. Enjoy stuff. Don't take too many risks. All the rest of it. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving financial advice. Yes, there's a degree of bearishness, I suppose, with the chat that I've had today, but but I'm more than willing to flip-flop on that opinion. It's like it wouldn't take much. It really wouldn't. In terms of things like Bitcoin, it would only take it to go up like $200 from where it is right now. Oh shit! It's coming up to the close. Oh cool. Okay, cool. Right, well, not tune out just yet because we did say that we would tune in and see how this closes out. Look at that. Sorry, at 9195. Oh, that's nah, moron. As a CMEs, how many times am I going to make that mistake live? So I can't just like stop filming, go back and pretend that I didn't. Not that I ever do that on the things anyway. People who subscribe to the channel know that all of mine are pretty much live. Yeah, anyhow, let's just see how the day closes out, and then I'll say cheerio. So yeah, but anyway, remember people out there, when you're trading in the markets like this, where there is the potential, where the Bollinger Bands are squeezing up, that there is the potential for volatility in the next wee while, to maybe, look out for fake outs and stuff like that, like we talked about in the Tezos one. Don't, commit to a move necessarily. It could be that we're coming towards the end of trading within particular predefined patterns and ranges and whatever else before we potentially move on to another one. Generally speaking, when the Bollinger Bands have been this squeezed, we've moved down the way. Overall, or whatever. But as we saw back there in the October 2019 time, I've got 50 seconds of chat to put out. The 2019 time, we saw that that there was the that's the weekly time frame. Go to the 24-hour. Stick back on the Bollinger Bands. Find it again. Where was it? 2020. October 2019. Yeah, we saw, we broke down the way here before we went on the way up the way again thereafter. Just kind of like remember that that we could see moves down the way as well, which then are, not necessarily all that long lived if there's volatility coming back into the market, and it just pushes people out. You could easily get, when you've had a long period of sideways trading like this, by the way, what that adds up to is that you've got a lot of people who've been stacking on orders. Because if you think about it yourself, if you're trading all the time, sometimes you go in and you put an order in, and then like a week goes by and you just add to your position or something. Like these, I'm actually talking from experience from myself from like a number of years ago when I would make kind of silly mistakes like this. But you would maybe end up with a position far bigger than you ever wanted to have. For instance, just after a period of sideways price action, as you've been like thinking that something's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet, and it hasn't happened, and then you've built up a position that's maybe a bit too big for yourself, or you're over leveraged or whatever else, and then you can get whipsawed right out of the price action, right out of any positive, out of any potential move. Right, okay, so everything closed up there. It closed at 9175, so we didn't actually get a close up at the 236 there, so that's interesting. I wonder how things will pan out over the next period, over the next wee while, and today, in the next sort of, let's go down to the 4-hour time frame just to chat about this, I suppose. I'll hit the auto button, stretch it up. If we do see a move back up above that 9195, that 9195 area, then I would think that it's potential, like, if we get above the 9195 area, then we're going up above the red 50 simple here, and we're up at the top end of the Bollinger Bands in terms of this 4-hour time frame. It could push, we could see things expand towards the top side, but I would be very cautious if we did make a move up for the next three levels at 9250 and then 9350 and 9450, each of those, and especially in and around about where we have this upper end of the fallen wedge, where you could then lead into fake out territory. And in terms of this thing, like we're talking about Tezos, fake out territory actually extends really up as high as where we have this 382 Fibonacci retracement coming in at. Okay, in terms of the other things as well, how did they close out at 235 for Ethereum? We could see things fade back down the way again. We haven't really done anything special here. Nothing really has been achieved with this price action overall. And if we did come up towards the top side, I'd be very cautious in around that 238 area. So just another $3 or 1% up from where we are now. Where we see the top end of the Bollinger Bands. If we're looking at Link, then of course, then I would then remain cautious then at 90,000. If we move towards the top side, we have the 21 EMA here, as we can see right above our heads. Again here as well in that one, I'd be cautious with it if we were to go up to $8 and then $8.22 again. If we stay below $8, then I could easily look down towards $7.70. So for a sort of 10%, that wouldn't be 10%, what am I saying? but it would be a move nevertheless. It wouldn't be 10, it'd be 2 and 2.8. Then what with Tezos? Then likewise as well, like looking here where we have this 21 EMA above our heads. Now, are we in a bullish trend here? Yes, we are. Has this really changed anything for us? Not necessarily. We still have to wait for things to happen in a bigger picture format here in the 24-hour time frame to say that anything's changed, and there's a lot of room for maneuver. Looking here, you could even see the prices come all the way back down to as far as, for instance, 3,000 or 3,000, or in terms of the dollar prices, you could see them come back down as far as 270, 275, 270, without me necessarily really even thinking that necessarily anything much has really changed, even though that is 10%, and that's a fairly significant thing. But we haven't done anything particularly positive today overall. The most positive aspect I would say about the price action, which has been bearish on the sort of the over the last few days, is that we've given the oscillators a chance to reset if we're going to continue being bullish, because you can only be you only want to be in these extreme areas. You can only be in these extreme areas for a certain period of time. Of course, that's where you want to remain during trending moves, and you can only be bearishly divergent for so long. So I'd look out for all of that, and then I'd look out for that. That didn't make any sense. I'd say you can only be in those areas for so long without having the oscillators reset. If we go back up to them again, then I'd look out for the sort of the pivot areas and whether or not we're coming in with any sort of bearish divergence then thereafter. Or if it was just a case of the oscillators getting a chance to take a breather and we could go for a second run at it. I'd also be cautious with the markets opening up on Monday. I'd look towards those technology stocks. I have to give a shout out to Crown for that. I've not been talking about that, but it's come into my grapevine. And Eric Crown, my favourite technical analyst outside of myself, or whatever, I would say him on YouTube. Shout out to him. If you ever do watch my channel, by the way, Crown, drop me a message. He mentioned that it's something that's worth thinking about, the Nasdaq and stuff like that. So take a look at that if you want to yourself. And cool, okay, cool. I can't really remember what to say. I'll check in with the chat and then say cheerio. Really, really, really appreciate people tuning in. Cool. Closes. Did I say something wrong? Cubism influence. Sure. Yeah, I'd hang up on the wall. Yep. Thank you for the great live stream. Amith, you're so welcome. Remus lol. I only know long. Flippity floppity. Closes. Let the bears sell. Don't fight. Great. Okay. Sweet. I've enjoyed it. I'm really glad you tuned in. I am going to say cheerio this time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I don't think I'll put any streams out tomorrow, by the way. So that's what's going on. That's why I wanted to put all this extra sort of effort in today. And I'll just catch you next time. This is always a pleasure, and it's been really fantastic to meet all of you. I'm so glad to have some friends out there in the world, joining in with the Discord and everything else. You can go over there, dive on into the Discord, get stuck in, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Simon. See your comment there. Thanks, Remus. See your comment. Thank you so much. Really, 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 really genuinely appreciate it. And it's great. It's great because I'm just myself here. I'm just myself. As you can see, it's all. This is the way that it goes. This is me being me. I'm not putting on any airs or anything like that. So you guys coming along and supporting me doing this really feels like you're supporting me personally, as opposed to some cheers Tony, as opposed to some sort of persona that I adopt. I don't do that. I really do try and genuinely put out a sort of a legitimate version of me. So if you guys show me that support, then I do take it personally, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. I've been Rocky Outcrop. I have to go and find the button to hit stop streaming because I don't know how to stop streaming. Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, catch you later.